down US 17 to the south, and the other is the loop tie-in from Florida Avenue across REA Road back over to US 17. The surveying has been completed on the REA to US 17 loop. The next step in that process will be to go through procurement of an engineer to design the loop and then go to bid for the construction of the loop. It just takes a long time to do these. The city of Wauchula had run numbers on the extension of the a 4-inch force main and an 8-inch water main to the south of Wauchula from Sweet Bay extending south. That cost is around $90,000 exclusive of DOT permitting and engineer design. So I would expect that line, as we start marching south with it, to run somewhere in the neighborhood of $150,000 per half a mile. The problem with that is that there's really a group of things that are being looked at. The city has water and sewer partway down Wilduke Road. We're looking at extending it down Martin Luther King to Wilduke and tying over to the northbound lanes of US 17. And then also, you have to remember the road is bifurcated in that area, so if we're going to serve that corridor, we kind of have to duplicate infrastructure down there. It has to be not only on the northbound lanes, but it's got to be eventually on the southbound lanes. So we're trying to decide the best way to go. It'll take many years to do it if we continue to do it the way we're doing it, but any progress is better than no progress. And I hope at some point in the future the legislature will be back appropriating money for water and sewer for rural communities, and we can get some additional money to accelerate those projects. And other than that, I don't have anything else. I am going to be going to meet with a company that has a very interesting business. They actually are former Hardy Countyans. They are in a 30,000 square foot building in the north central part of the state. They would like to relocate more in this area. I think they'd be a great fit for us, and as soon as I can meet with them and find out exactly what their job creation expectations are, we'll apprise you of that. I just need to have my preliminary meeting. We've talked on the phone, and other than that, I haven't done anything else with them. So that's all I have.
I'd like to ask about Hardy Lakesville. Were we there? Are we ready for the winter and everything?
Danny Weeks came before the Board of County Commissioners last Thursday and gave a very lengthy report on Hardy Lakes. I cannot recollect all of the things that have been going on out there, but his report was positive. Rather than me trying to reiterate it to you, if you'll go online and look at it, it was a fairly short meeting last Thursday, and he did give a full report, and it was positive.
One more question, Mike. As far as the lakes, who manages the lakes? I've had some guys ask me, some questions about it. Is the Fish and Game Commission?
Fish and Game, as far as I understand it, Fish and Game manages the lakes. Back to any question about Hardy Lakes. All the campsites are up and available, running. The park is now open 7 days a week. The camp store, not quite done, but expected to be done shortly. Bathrooms, the new bathrooms are done. Water system's up and running, all the electrical's up. The sites themselves are done. That was we spent about 30 minutes listening to them.
Did we ever decide how long a rental we could do on each one of the electric bathrooms?
Right now, the park board has determined that they want to use the same criteria there as using Pioneer Park. That's subject to change, and that discussion is ongoing. I think it's 2 weeks maximum time frame. I've got some thoughts about that. understanding that, and I think everyone else does too. I don't know that using the same criteria out there as they do at Pioneer Park is necessarily appropriate itself. But we haven't scheduled a workshop on it, but it's upcoming.
I've just had some guys come to me a little bit on the herbicide around the shores where they're taking out all the vegetation at one time, and they're really having problems. You know, they're really catching fish and enjoying it and everything else, but once they come in there and kill all the vegetation, it's just rough to catch any fish around the shoreline.
Really?
And so I don't know who you talk to about that, whether you have somebody.
I'll talk to Danny and see if he knows anything about it, and maybe want us to. I'll see if I can find out something.
I will say this, Mike, that DEP pretty well regulates the vegetation removals there, and if it's a nuisance species, they get on it. And a lot of local fishermen don't consider cattails nuisance, but if they get in that lake, they're going to kill them. Now, juncus, the reed type plant, the round stem one, they really like that one. And probably a lot of the herbiciding has to do with keeping nuisance species
Yeah,
out.
I imagine just from what I heard, is cattails that they're talking about.
I can also tell you too, we stayed at probably 5 or 6 state parks around Florida, and every one of them there has always been a 2-week maximum stay. There are exceptions. You know, if you're in the dead of summer when 95% of the sites are unoccupied, if you want to stay a little longer, you can. But typically, it's a 2-week maximum stay. Basically, that's my understanding is what they tell me from these state parks is that during the winter, when the demand is there, they don't want people come in and say, well, I want to stay 3 months. You need to go to an RV park, not to something like Hardy Lakes. So that gives everybody an opportunity.
And that's what I was scared of, is somebody coming in and running it for the whole winter, so.
And there are some, he was reporting there are some events scheduled to go on this fall out there that are new to the area and bring in some people. Somewhat exciting.
Any other questions or comments from board members on any of the project updates? If not, we'll go ahead and move into our financial report.
Page 1 of your financials should be your balance sheet for the EDC. As of August 31st, total assets were $65,486.59. And over to the next page shows the profit and loss for the month. It was a pretty normal month. Total expenses, $27,410.39. The only out of ordinary expense under professional services, the $4,097, that was to complete the reimbursement back to the Mosaic admin monies that had been transferred over to EDC to cover expenses. We paid back that fund, so that was the remaining amount left to pay back to shore up that Mosaic fund. Other than that, there weren't any other unusual expenses for the month. If you want to go over any specific questions under the general ledger for EDC, we can take up those questions now. Again, the month was pretty normal, so I didn't see any expenses that were out of the ordinary. That's really it for EDC, so if there aren't any questions, we can go ahead and approve those set of financials and move to the IDA.
Any other questions or comments from board members? If not, we will open for a motion to approve the EDC financials. And do we have a second?
Second.
Any other questions or comments from board members? Any public comments? Mr. Kirkland?
Real quick, I would just love to be able to detect who is making the motion and seconding it. That's all.
Okay, that one was Jean and Monica. Any other questions or comments from the public? If not, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? We'll move on to the IDA financials.
If you'll turn over to page 20, that's your balance sheet as of August 31st for the IDA. Total current assets, $6,204,802.62. We have current liabilities, $108,872, bringing our total liabilities and equity to $8,184,297.86.
What's the difference between non-spendable and, see that all the time?
Non-spendable, you'll see that corresponds to the land available for sale up under fixed assets. So since that is land, it's classified as non-spendable. Unassigned is just fund balance that hasn't been assigned for any project. It's the general fund balance at this point in time.
If you'll flip on over to page 21, that starts the profit and loss by class. Just want to point out a few things. Under the incubator, looking under the utilities, you'll see that, the $16.89. Now that is for the city of Wauchula. It includes two of those in there. What's the other one, Christy? The security line for CenturyLink is included in that amount for this month. And then the $9,230.60, that was a portion of Peace River B's funding that is included in the incubator allotment. They needed to have product filled, and since the fill line is not operational, they did a run with Nutraceutical. So Nutraceutical did fill some of their products for them to keep them going until they can get into the fill line and begin doing their own products. So that's what that expense was for, and it was paid for out of the grant for that. And then $57,263.22. The majority of that went to Valpak for the remaining amounts for the fill line equipment purchase. Then under property management, just wanted to point out the utilities includes 2 cycles. It includes pre-co bills for August 1st and August 25th. So that's why the amount is what it is. It does include 2 months. Flipping over to page, let's go to page 23. That takes you over to the administrative special revenue column. Under accounting and auditing, you'll see $15,774.48. That includes $6,000 for Clifton Larson Allen for the Continuum Labs examination, and $6,600 roughly for 3 months of Wicks Brown accounting services. Under IDA marketing, we did spend $3,000 on a half-page ad in Florida Trend that is coming out, so be on the lookout for that. We also had a full-page ad that will be coming out, I believe, in next month's edition, which is a full circulated Florida Trend. Our half-page ad went out into a Heartland region edition, and it is out. We have copies in our office if you would like to look at it. But it did go out to the Heartland region on Hardy County, and we focused on the Commerce Park specifically. So
What's the cover sheet on that?
I think it's got an airplane, because I think it's called, I want to say it's called Bombs Away.
Well, that's the,
I
bowling
think.
green.
Yes, it is. That's the edition that it's in. But we do have a lot of copies in our office if you would like to have one or look at it. So. And then we had insurance renewal on Tech River under Spec Building 4. That was the $9,200. So we did renew the insurance on that building. Flip over to page 24. Under Florican, those expenses were for design services and half-acre expenses for that spec building. And then under total special revenue, the column to the far right, it does show the $4,000 that were on the EDC financials of paying back that admin fund. So this is where it shows up in the revenue side. And I believe that's all I have for those. So if there are any individual questions, we can answer those. If not, we can move to approve the financials.
I wanted to go back to the expense for Cantu Aviaries for just a second. Are we at a place with the fill line that they're going to be able to utilize that for their next potential run, and they're not going to need to?
I would imagine that by the time they run or get low on product this go around and are at the point where they need to be filling product again, that yes, this coming run will be done within the incubator.
So how does that, I'm assuming that $9,000 was not a budgeted expense in their grant proceeds from the EDA. Is that going to be negatively impact them in some way?
No, and actually, we went back before the EDA and amended the original budget to reflect the fact that the EDA is aware that the fill line is not up and running and that it would take time and that they would be faced with this situation. So the grant dollars were approved to be spent in that manner. And at this time, in this current year that we've gone through with Cantu Aviaries, there really weren't any other large expenses directly that had to be paid out by Cantu Aviaries themselves. So to answer your question, would it negatively impact them to not be able to fund something that they, needed? The answer is no. They did not have any other direct expenses that weren't being covered under the incubator, kind of umbrella that they really had to pay out. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from board members? If not, we will open for a motion to approve the IDA financials.
So,
Second.
That was Mike and any further discussion from the board? Any public comment? If not, all those in favor? Anyone opposed? All right, we will, thank you very much. We will move on into announcements of the business public comment.
Just want to remind everyone at adjournment today to please go to the Commerce Park, and the groundbreaking will be held just to the south of the county's utility department building as you go in the park. It's about halfway down on the left. And there's a small little tent there, and we'll have a quick ceremony. There will be representatives from Florican there. And I admonish you to remember that it is not part of the meeting, so please do not discuss any IDA business as you're there. It's fine to be there, just don't discuss any business.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from board members? If not, we'll open for public comment. Mr. Kirkland?
Real quickly, I apologize for my outbreak. I asked him, I was just wanting to know what year he was talking about. I'm sorry, Bill. Now, I give Bill some documents. I don't know whether he can give to you guys or not. You've probably seen some of them on the internet, but there's a lot of smoke, innuendos, whatever you want to call it. And none of us can probably prove any of it about Sean Oakland. Now you guys give him, basically give him a $2 million building, and all of these innuendos and different things out here in the media are reflected to us and what he's done to us. He came here with a Skype call, enough BS to float the rest of the world in fertilizer forever. Promises, promises, promises. He failed by, he was supposed to have this operating equipment in there in March of 2013. You guys, when he couldn't do what he said, you changed the agreement contract to let him get by with whatever he's doing. This man
Mr. Kirkland,
has
I'm going to have to stop you for just a moment, and I've stopped your time, but what you're saying is patently untrue, so we're not going to allow you to continue to bash one of our businesses that we have recruited in your time. You know, whatever innuendo you believe to have happened, we're not going to create an opportunity or a platform in this meeting for you to bash one of the companies that we are trying to foster economic development with. So let me be clear. We have leased this company a building that we own, that they are paying for. We're not going to entertain a 3-minute platform to bash the company or to bash the owner. Now, if you have something to discuss about the lease on the building, we'll allow the comments to continue, but other than that, we're not going to open this as a platform. I do understand that you handed Mr. Lambert a stack of documents that you would like to distribute to the board, and I welcome you to personally do that, but we're not going to distribute information that may be defamatory to one of our companies or our businesses that, again, we're trying to foster economic development with. So if you have something specific to the lease or the building, but we're not going to continue to open a platform for beating up companies that we are trying to foster job creation with.
So you're gagging me from making factual statements. I will withdraw from talking about the smoke. I was just trying to compare it to facts.
We encourage public comment on items that are relevant to the business that we're conducting, but we're not going to have 3-minute platforms to go on and on and on about things that are not relevant to what the IDA is doing. And for that matter, we have an active contract. We don't have anything ongoing with PF Man. We have a contract in place for them to lease the building. They're paying on that contract. It's not up for review or discussion. So your concerns about what they're doing in the building, they're a lease tenant.
I'm a public citizen. You're spending my money. I have the right to bring this before you, and the thing is, this is not innuendos. The man came in and he had a Skype call and he had a lot of baloney about putting us on the world map with this generator and all this stuff, and he hasn't done that. So he's failed, and my question is, are you guys going to continue to sit there and pour this money out for absolutely nothing? And
you do understand we're not giving him any money. We're not giving any money to PF Man. We're not funding their operation. Do you understand that?
No, I don't understand it. Doesn't make sense to me because I see a practically $2 million building sitting out there that was built and designed to try to fraud the federal government and the state government out of grant money, and some of that was happened.
That's absolutely untrue. So I'm going to ask you to take your seat because I've tried to give you an opportunity.
So you're saying I'm a liar and I need to sit down? They didn't get any grant money from Space Florida?
I'm saying that what you're saying is not true.
You're saying that, okay.
There is nothing.
I'm a liar, ma'am.
There's nothing that has been done in the construction of that building to defraud anyone, and that building, that asset is still owned and retained by the IDA. So nothing has been given to you.
I've got an opinion. If you're not going to let us say it, just forget it. Shut up.
Thank you. Mr. Cole.
Robert, excuse me, Robert Cole of Wachula. Is Delcom an actual company now?
Robert, they are a company. Did you have access to the presentation that was made by Mr. Kitzinger at the last meeting? They are a startup, he did say that, and he is a Hardy County person, and we're going to continue to work with him.
What's the name of the company?
Delcom.
LL. I couldn't find it on the state of Florida. I was trying to find out.
I'll be more than happy to let you talk to Mr. Kitzinger. He has nothing to hide. He's a very fine young man.
No, I believe that.
You can sit down with him one-on-one. I'll give you time in our office if that's what you'd like to do.
No, I'm trying to check it out myself, which you guys should be doing yourselves, your board members. And, but I couldn't find the company. And are they Delcom Inc.? I mean, there's two Delcoms in the country. One's in New York and one's in Texas. But they're not that company.
I'll be more than happy to let you meet with Mr. Kitzinger. I will do that for you.
Thanks. The other question I have is, two meetings ago, Mr. Samuels asked if PF Band had reimbursed us for that electrical deposit. I think it was $15,000. And you never got back to us last meeting.
They are still working on it. I did have a conversation with Veronica Hurst, who is their business manager, and they are working on it. We have not forgotten it, and we will make certain that it gets reconciled.
I mean, what do you mean? Because the last time you said they're negotiating. What do you mean? It's a deposit. It's a set amount. What's that mean?
The building was designed for a 2,500 I hope I say this, 2,500 amp load, yet they do not anticipate having that load for another 2 years. The minimums on the electrical are generally based, for the deposit, are based on the load. They had to do a study to see what their usage would be in order to recompute the deposit for the building. In order to do that, they need a base of several months to determine how that deposit should be adjusted.
Okay, but we paid that deposit, right?
We paid the deposit, it was paid by the IDA, and it will be reimbursed.
Well, I mean, my thing, from a common sense standpoint, why doesn't PF-Man give us the $15,000? And then the negotiation with the electric company, he can handle. And he can get reimbursed. That makes sense to me, but maybe I'm the only one that makes sense.
It does make sense, and that is our objective.
So, I mean, it's been 2 months. Why don't they give you?
They needed several months to determine what the cost, what the average cost should be. I mean, we've said this.
I realize that they need time, but it makes sense. Pay us the money and they can negotiate, or they can wait the 2 months or whatever to get the reimbursement. That's my only question.
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Sounds
I mean, you could ask them that.
Sounds suspect.
You're in charge of it. You could say, hey, give us the money. Did they ever, I know this has come up at other meetings, and we've never really heard an answer or been shown the receipts. Did they reimburse us for all those improvements they wanted in that building? Remember Sean Oken stood here and said he paid for those.
Yes. We have every check of every
improvement that was above what the original GMP was.
So we didn't pay, he did.
Yes.
That's been, okay, good. Okay, 'cause I never heard it.
He additionally has put over $300,000 into that building
I heard that.
of capital improvement. And then there's probably another $2 million in equipment in that building. And they have consistently maintained between 8 and 12 employees in that building in Hardy County. How do you find fault with that?
Paul, I don't either. I'm just asking questions because as a citizen, we kind of have to scrap and get what information we can.
We did show those reimbursements in the financials when they came in.
Can't hear you.
We showed those reimbursements in the financials when they came in.
Oh, okay. No, I missed it, or, those are confusing to me anyway.
Thank you very much. Mr. Horst?
Thank you very much. 652 County Road 665, owner. Regarding the contract, signed contract, I didn't hear mention of the 30 months of free rent. Is that still part of the contract?
Contract is exactly in the same condition it was when it was approved. Mr. Oakham's obligations under the contract are to start the building with capital investment and job creation. He has not failed to do that.
30 months of free rent is part of the contract, is that correct?
Whatever the board approved is what it was.
The board approved 30 months of free rent. My
And
question-
you object to that.
No, I didn't object to it at all. That's your misinterpretation right now.
Is it?
I just want to know whether that still is in the contract.
But the 30 months actually started before the building was completed. It started before the CO was issued.
Of course, we don't
So
have,
where are we at now? How many months of free rent left?
we don't have a copy of that contract in front of us.
No?
So if you have questions, we can.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you very much. Okay, how much was paid to the attorney to throw me off the board?
Sarah, do you know?
We didn't pay anything.
You worked for nothing?
Well, actually, that would have been that would have been the BOCC.
Any idea? The lawyer is here.
I don't.
Can you answer that question? Would that be all right for you to ask the attorney?
He's coming up.
Thank you.
Excuse me. Don't hold me to this number. I think it's roughly $500, something like that. Somewhere in that range. Don't hold me to the exact.
Okay, final statement. The board of commissioners appointed me, and by the rules, they had the right to throw me off. Why wasn't an outside attorney needed?
That was at the determination of the BOCC, so you would need to direct that question to them.
I will at the next meeting. Thank you very much. And you were really nice to let Frank speak.
No problem, thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Madam Chair, I have some public comment. If you'd like me to, I'll walk out there if you don't mind. I'll stay here.
We can't hear you.
This is public comment. This is Mike Thompson talking as a citizen of Hardy County, not as a commissioner or IDA liaison. A lot of the allegations against PF Man have been brought forward by an individual by the name of Dennis Prue. I don't know Mr. Prue. I don't know who he is. He does have a book that he wrote, and unlike many authors that I've read before, there's not much available on him information, any kind of a bibliography or anything. The only thing I could find about him is I think it said he lived in Florida. It didn't say where. But I bought his book. I can't recommend it, but I bought it because I wanted to know more about him. And let me read you some of the chapter headings out of his books. of his book, chapter 27. The title is Institutions of Higher Learning Have Become a Lie. Chapter 20, All Lawyers Are Scum. Chapter 18, my personal favorite, Elected Officials Have All Been Influenced by Money. Chapter 5, If Religion Were True. Chapter 1, The Biggest Lie of All, Religion. And he refers to, in his book, and I have read his book, it's difficult. He refers to God, my God, as the cosmic bastard, CB for short. And I will tell you, in my opinion, and in my eyes, Mr. Prue is, he has nothing I want to hear. There's nothing he could say that I'm interested in listening to. These are his words, not mine. But his credibility, as far as I'm concerned, is zero. And if you want to choose to read the book and draw that conclusion for yourself, feel free. Like I said, I can't recommend it. But as far as I'm concerned, there is no credibility there. And I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Any further public comment?
Since we're in the position of book review, I would like to recommend the book called Dark Winter. It just came out by Mr. Clark. It's based on sunspots, sun cycle, 200-year sun cycle. And we're in 10 years into a 30-year ice age. Things are going to get really cold. It's a very interesting book, and I would definitely recommend it because it's going to affect harvesting orange crops all over the country. And the cycles are clearly explained based on volcanoes and warming and cooling over centuries. Dark Winter.
Okay, we are now moving into the time that we have scheduled for our groundbreaking. So if there is no further comment, we'll open for a motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor? And we will adjourn the meeting to the groundbreaking ceremony.